thank you so much for joining us for our Black Birders Week programming. This is our virtual event as part of the week. It is our first time celebrating Black Birders Week here at Conner Prairie, this week-long event. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Zoe Morgan, and I'm the curriculum specialist here at Conner Prairie.
And I'm Michelle Morton. I'm the nature engagement specialist, and Zoe and I work together in the education department.
Yes, and I also don't want to forget to point out that not only are we celebrating Black Birders Week for the first time at Conner Prairie, but it's actually the first Black Birders Week event to happen in the state of Indiana, which is a really big deal. And so we're excited for the work that we get to do, and we hope that it continues and other organizations begin to join us in our efforts.
With that, can you just give us an overview of what Black Birders Week is?
Sure. Black Birders Week began in 2020 as a response to a black birder, Christian Cooper, that was out birding in Central Park. He was birding in an area of the park where it was really meant for, native life to thrive, and so it attracted a lot of birds. And there was a woman that was also in the park with her dog, and her dog was unleashed. And because Christian Cooper was birding, he asked if she would leash her dog so he could continue birding, and she refused. So she kind of continued to harass him, and so he began to record her, actually. That's when she called the cops and made a false accusation that he was harassing her and her dog. That event happened at the same time as the murder of George Floyd. Then began this larger conversation around safety for Black and brown people in the field of STEM and in birding. And so that's when Black AF in STEM thought of Black Birders Week. And, let's continue this conversation and let's bring awareness to what it is like for Black and brown people in STEM to be out in the field. It has grown to this nationwide event that celebrates Black birders and nature enthusiasts, including events at various Smithsonian institutions as well. Black AF in STEM organizes this event, and so they come up with the themes every single year, as well as the themes for each day with the hashtags with daily invitations that anyone can join in on to kind of see what's going on each day. And they offer programs for birders of all experience levels, which is actually what we'll be doing here. So we actually piloted Black Birders Week last year in 2023. Black Birders Week was something that I had never heard of until the wonderful Michelle brought it to my attention, and she said that this was something that, she was really passionate about bringing here to Conner Prairie, especially since we both enjoy birding. Ever since we had that conversation, we were like, okay, well, what does one event look like? And so we decided to just do one bird walk where we opened it up to really like anyone in the community that wanted to join. We had a handful of friends that joined us. We didn't really know what to expect, but we kind of started out the bird walk talking about why we enjoy birding and what brought us to that bird walk that day. We opened that question up, or that invitation up, to anyone that wanted to join in. And to our surprise, every single person joined in and answered the question, whether that was, just birds that they noticed in their backyard, or one of our friends even shared like, oh, well, I think I really enjoy watching cardinals. I did go to Ball State, so I feel like I really have a connection to those birds. There was just so much joy and connection that we felt just in the beginning of sharing those stories. And then when we went out, got into like the tips and tricks and started birding, it was just, I almost don't even have words for it. It was just the most wonderful, positive, joyful experience I have really had out in nature. So after that, we were like, okay, we're going to make this the full week-long program because we want to extend that into the week, that feeling. But really, we want to go beyond that week, and we want you to feel that joy and connection and love, with nature, with yourself, with others. We want, everyone to be left with that feeling and that experience. So we both love birding, clearly, which is why we're doing this Black Birders Week event. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you got into birding?
Absolutely. So the spark bird is that bird that really sparks your interest in a love of birds, whether that's through birding or just learning more about them. And so mine happened during the pandemic. A lot of people got into birding at that time, and I'm definitely one of them. I was a classroom teacher at the time. I was living in Denver, Colorado. We were trying to figure out how to do the City Nature Challenge remotely. And so still getting people outside to explore the different wildlife and wild plants around them. And so I went for a walk in the park next to my house, and I was using this app called iNaturalist to take pictures of mushrooms and squirrels and blades of grass, and just to learn about all these different species. And there was this little bird that was hopping around on a branch, and they don't sit still, so it was really hard to get a picture of them. And so I started using this app called Merlin, which is through the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And through using this app, I was able to figure out this bird, this cute little, very industrious, busy bird, was called a black-capped chickadee. And I thought, well, you are just the cutest thing. I go home later that day, I'm sitting at my computer, as we all did way too much during the pandemic. I'm looking outside, there's this ash tree in front of my home, and I see this little bird jumping around. And I thought, what is this bird? And I used that same app again, and I identified it as a black-capped chickadee. And so this was the second time I had seen this species of bird in one day. Later that day, I saw the bird again, and without needing to look at a device to figure it out, I said, oh, it's a black-capped chickadee. And so it instantly sparked something for me that, oh, if I can identify this one bird, what other birds are there? And so the next day I went to the park, and I was using my app and just starting to identify them. And then a week later, I was using an old pair of binoculars to go find birds. And it just grew very quickly because I had a lot of time on my hands, and being outside was such a way for me to feel calm and relaxed during such a challenging time. And even as I'm telling you this story, I'm really distracted by a bird call, wondering if it's a northern parula. It might be. So I'm not sure, but it's still very much a part of just what brings me joy and what I enjoy doing. So I'd love to hear your spark bird story as well.
Sure. So it's very, very different and pretty funny, to be honestly. But I actually was terrified of birds my entire life. I mean, to the point where I was anxious about even going outside. I felt more comfortable, interestingly, going outside at night, because I was like, well, I know that's when most of the birds are asleep. So that's when I felt comfortable in some ways, not so comfortable in others. But I thought that I would never get over that fear. And so I just accepted it. I was like, well, I'm never going to like birds. They don't like me. And it is what it is. And I will just be always afraid to go outside. That all changed when I started working at Prairie, because we sit on 1,000 acres and we are outside all the time. So I was going to have to get over that fear kind of no matter what. But Michelle actually said to me, one day, like, oh, I'm going birding tomorrow if you'd like to come. No pressure. She knew my fear of birds, and she was like, no pressure at all. And I didn't have anything going on, so I was like, you know what? I really enjoy spending time with Michelle, so I'll go. And I'll just see what happens. So we went with an ornithologist group out at one of our local parks. She brought a pair of binoculars for me, which I did not know how to use at first. After like a little clunkiness and awkwardness, I finally figured out how to work the binoculars. And I think I saw my first bird through there, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. I was like, okay, wait, I think I get this now. But then my spark bird that really, drew me into birding and is what helped me fall in love with it was actually, as we were kind of making our way around this lake, I saw this duck. And obviously I couldn't identify it at first, but now I know it is the goldeneye duck. And there were some male and female goldeneyes swimming on the water. And the males were trying to attract the females with their mating dance. And I'm a dancer, so I resonated with this, with the dancing kind of element. And so they're swimming around the female ducks on the water, and they're just dramatically throwing their heads back and forth just like this. And it was just the coolest thing that I had ever seen. I was like, okay, I want to do this more often. Similar to you, I just felt so calm and at peace and just kind of one with nature in a way that I had never felt before, because I actually, didn't really grow up, going outside really. And so I just felt like I connected with nature in a whole different way. I have that just wonderful memory with Michelle. And it's something that has drawn us closer together as well. I have kind of been birding ever since, and I love it. And I'm actually over my fear of birds.
Yay!
So
thanks for sharing your your story, Zoe. I love hearing it, and it's such a great reminder of that day when we saw those golden eyes together.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that kind of brings us to, well, why here, right? Why here at Conner Prairie? Why now? Why are we intentionally bringing Blackbirders Week here?
Well, one of the things that I noticed when I first started working here is that I didn't see myself in the stories that were being told here, in the history that was being interpreted here. Similarly, when I started birding, I also didn't see myself in the birding community. And it wasn't until you brought Blackbirders Week to my attention that I was like, oh, of course there are blackbirders, black ornithologists. Because of the overlap of both of those things, of not seeing myself in birding, not seeing myself in the history here, we felt like Blackbirders Week was the perfect opportunity for Black and brown birders, people in STEM, nature enthusiasts, and allies, really to feel representation here. So this is kind of like a more intentional effort in doing so. And those align with our values that we have here at Conner Prairie, having a heart for the past. We want to be intentional in addressing systemic racism within our institution by intentionally engaging with guests who historically do not see themselves at Conner Prairie. Unfortunately, that is what I commonly hear from other Black and brown people in the community, is that they do not and have not seen themselves here. And so we want to make sure that they feel, again, that this is a safe, inclusive place for them. It also aligns with our value of having a head for the present. We want to provide opportunities for Black guests and allies to engage with nature through experiences which uplift, honor, and respect diverse perspectives. And then our other value as well, having an eye to the future. We want to ensure that the Conner Prairie mission is fulfilled by providing engaging and individualized experiences for everyone, which is why we're also offering kind of an array of events as well, with people of all experience levels in birding, and also for those that maybe haven't been in a ton of blue and green spaces as well. And so it's an opportunity to connect with nature and, again, connect with each other in a way that maybe they haven't before. And we just want to be intentional in doing so. Michelle, with all of that in mind, what are we hoping for our guests to take away from Blackbirders Week?
Every guest is going to come with their own intention and their own reasons for being here. But if we can kind of step back from that and think, what are our hopes from the outside? I'd love for our guests to feel a connection with themselves, right? Maybe they'll find their spark bird. Maybe they'll be excited about a bird they hadn't seen in a while because it's during migration. Perhaps guests will find some connections with others and learning some different perspectives. We want to be a space that's inclusive and really welcoming. And through those conversations before a bird walk, like you mentioned earlier, you get to learn about other people and other guests and learning their perspectives on whether that's birding or nature, or being outside, or even feelings of safety, whatever people feel like sharing. Also would love for guests to feel this sense of place, whether that's here or inspiration to build a sense of place outside of Conner Prairie. So finding spaces where they feel comfortable in nature and feel really safe and welcome. I'd love that for all of our guests. One of my own personal core values is joy. And so I love when our guests also find things that bring them joy. And so we'd love for the programs that we are offering this week during Blackbirders Week to inspire guests to feel joy through whatever means that is for them. And then the cognitive side of birding too. Perhaps some of our guests might learn about a new bird that they've never learned before, or might hear a song they've never heard before. So just kind of growing an awareness and appreciation of the birds we have here in Central Indiana. And of course, the knowledge of Blackbirders Week and what it is, a bit of its history, a bit of why we're bringing that here, and the importance of really uplifting members of the community who maybe don't feel as safe in natural spaces, and that perhaps being an inspiration for how we can work as a bigger community to ensure that everyone feels included and welcome and safe.
That was beautifully said. If you feel like you're alone, one of the things that I have since found out since birding is that we are not alone, because really, the trees, the birds, all of it, they are our kin, as we've said. And so if you are feeling alone, or you're feeling like lost or you're struggling to feel connection, just going outside, just listening, just feeling the wind, watching the trees, having the sun hit your face, you're not alone. And so I really hope that our guests can feel that throughout the week and beyond. Then for the future of Black Birders Week and beyond, we've talked a lot about the connection and the power of building relationships and community with each other. And I think that there's so much healing in that. As I've said, there has been harm that this place has done to the community. There is harm that the birding community has done to other people that have, felt excluded from that community. And I think the connections that we've been able to make, the conversations that we've been able to have through birding have the opportunity to be medicine for so many people. And it might not start this year, this week with this program, but I think it's a start. It's planting a seed in a way. And in continuing this program, we're just continuing to water that and grow that. It can be, Conner Prairie and just birding in general, the birding community can both be seen as places that are safe and inviting and welcoming for everyone. And so I'm looking forward to just seeing that play out.
Thank you so much for sharing and inviting me to share as well. It's been wonderful to highlight all of these joyful memories and what our goals are for our guests in bringing this program here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to share this. I always feel like you have created a safe space for me to be vulnerable and sharing that. So just thank you so much for, again, creating that space and just making me feel I'm just safe to be vulnerable and share this with you. So thank you. And we want to thank you all so much for joining us as well for this curious conversation. If you'd like to learn more about Black Birders Week at Conner Prairie, you can visit our website. If you are local, we'd love to see you out here for our programming, and we'd love to see you out here just in general, anytime at Conner Prairie. You can join us on our trails. We'd love to see you out there on a stroll. If you'd like to do some birding as well, you can borrow a pair of binoculars or an adventure backpack and see what you can find out there. If you are outside of Central Indiana, be sure to check out Black AF in STEM for any events for Black Birders Week that might be happening near you.